Hello and welcome to the hands-on VMware vSphere 6 data center design. My name is Asif Maroof. We will be looking at ESXi hypervisor installation, and this is section 1 of our video series. The prerequisites to installing ESXi hypervisor are a minimum of 8 GB of RAM, 64-bit architecture, a host machine with 2 CPU cores, a 4 GB or larger disk for installation. It should be accessible over network, and the ISO size is approximately 350 megabytes. We will be installing the ESXi hypervisor as a VM in VMware Workstation Pro, although this is not an approach we will take for a production environment. This is sufficient for the course here, because functionality wise there is no difference between ESXi host running as a VM under VMware Workstation Pro. So let's go ahead, and what I'll show is an installation of ESXi, and then we'll come back to our slide here. I have this VMware Workstation 15 Pro, and I select new virtual machine. I take the typical. As you can see, I have already downloaded and installed the ISO for the ESXi, and it's able to detect that's an ESXi 6 ISO image, so I can go ahead and say next. I'll give it another name similar to ESXi 6.5, and I will change the location just because I have an existing installation here. I will take a 4 gig size for now because this is installing on my laptop, but you can take any size that is specified. I will store the disk in a single virtual disk. This is a summary before I hit the finish button, and it's an ESXi 6.5. We are installing 4 gigs of disk space, 4 gigs of memory. It's NATed to the host computer, and it's got 2 CPU cores. So once I hit finish, it's going to start the installation process. So I just want to come back here to the slides and continue from here, where we notice that we have initiated the installation. It's installing ESXi, loading the drivers and modules. On the next slide, we see that it's waiting for input from the user and asking if it can install on the disk that we had earlier identified. In my case, it's a 5 gig disk, so I will go ahead and select that, as you see highlighted in yellow. Typically the installation takes between 5 to 10 minutes, and it's a fairly fast installation. And as you can see here on the left hand side, it's in the process of being complete. It's nearly 70%, and then finally it reboots and loads all the drivers that it needs to have a fully functional ESXi host. And this is the target state that you should see, indicating that everything went well. You have 2 CPUs, 8 gigs of memory, and we have the HTTP IP address, and I just need to emphasize that you should select static. So on the next page, this is the installation part. We have to make some configuration changes before the ESXi host is ready to be accessed and creating VMs and part of the virtual infrastructure. And the screen that we see here is called DCUI, which is Direct Console User Interface, and is used to make some changes to the network and do some testing, some basic stuff to ensure that the ESXi host is ready and available on the network. So on the next page, you see 3 different small screens. So on the left hand side, you have the configure IP address and gateway. This dialog box allows you to select static, select an IP address from your network subnet, the mask, and the IP and the gateway IP. You can also test network connectivity typically to connect to the to your gateway or to another server in that network, just to ensure that you're able to connect and ping them and ensure that you have connectivity to the ESXi host. And you also have troubleshooting options. Recommended is to enable SSH so that you're able to access the ESXi host over PuTTY using a client like an SSH client like PuTTY, and that will enable you to manage the ESXi host from the command line. After having completed these steps, the ESXi host is now ready to be accessed, as we'll see in the next video, where we will access the ESXi host and create virtual machines and further explore the functionalities that are available. And to review the video, we install ESXi host as a virtual machine in VMware Workstation Pro. As explained, this is good for the course and understanding. The concepts are very similar. Running ESXi as a VM in Workstation provides good concepts of virtualization. Configuring ESXi using DC UI, we can configure parts of management network, DNS, SSH. And in the next video, we will learn how to manage ESXi and virtual infrastructure, including provisioning VMs. So stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching.